So, good morning. I was chatting with some people on my website recently, which is Grishno.com, and they were talking about their coming out stories and like how they had come out to their parents and their friends, and it got me thinking about my coming out story, and it was kind of an interesting way that I did it. Not everybody does it, and I definitely don't recommend it for everybody. So basically what had happened is I had just barely gotten a job. I was going to be starting in 1 week, and I was super excited. I just barely found out about that I could transition. Before, I just had like no idea that it was possible. And I was so excited to do it. And I wanted to start this job in 1 week as a girl, so that everyone there always knew me as a girl. That way they wouldn't have trouble with pronouns, they wouldn't have trouble with getting my name right, things like that. So I gave myself 1 week to come out to everybody and then go full time the following Monday. One of my first friends that I told was my friend Michael, and I took him out to a Denny's, or the Village Inn, which is the equivalent out west, and had some coffee late at night, and I told him I was going to become a girl on Monday. And if I recall his reaction correctly, he said, "That's cool. That's awesome. Nice." And hadn't really heard anything about transsexuals or the reason behind it, but was just really supportive. And I was kind of surprised. He and I weren't always the best of friends. We knew each other. We'd been roommates for, a year and a half at that point. But we hadn't known each other that long. And I was really surprised at how much support he was able to give me. And ends up, I'd probably consider him one of my best friends now. Or my best friend besides Morgan. I was telling some other people. And I was really surprised. There was a friend of mine who I'd known since junior high. And he and I were best friends at the time. We did everything together. We'd been through so much together. We both had cross-dressed throughout our lives. We'd even done it together at some points where, like, my mom would be out of the house. My parents would be out of the house, and we'd both come over to my house, and we'd dress up like girls, and I'd be doing my makeup, and he'd be prancing around in panties and a bra or whatever. And so I thought he'd be really, really accepting of it. And we were roommates at the time, so I took him out to lunch, and I told him, and he did not take it well. He actually ended up moving out that week, just because I think it hit too close to home. And it was something that he was still working out a lot of guilt on. And I was just really, really surprised at that. And that's kind of the funny thing about coming out, is you kind of really find out who your friends are. I want somebody to like me and be my friend because they want to be, not just because we happen to grow up together or because it's convenient. And that's one of the cool things I think about coming out, is that you really get to find out who your friends are. So I was telling my mom, and boy, I drove up to my parents' house, and I'm sitting outside for like half an hour in the car. I think she knew that I was sitting out there because I had this beast of a car that like you could hear coming from a mile away. So I'm sitting out there just like, oh my God, psyching myself up. And finally I get up the courage and I go inside, and I'm like, "Hey Mom, can we talk?" And so we go into her room and sit down on the bed. She's like, "So what's up?" And I say, "Well, I think that I'm going to become a girl. Or I think I'm going to try out being a girl." That's the way I broke it. Is I said I was going to try it out for a month and see how it worked. And if I liked it, then I'd stay. And if I didn't, then I'd just go back to being a guy and it'd be fine. But honestly, I knew I was going to like it. And I knew that I was never going to go back. And my mom surprised me. Because she looks at me and she says, "I'm not surprised." And, thinking about it now, it makes sense that she wouldn't be surprised. It's, there were several times growing up where I got caught cross-dressing, or I got caught with women's clothes in my room, or like all my sisters were much younger than me, so I couldn't steal their clothes. I had to steal my mom's clothes. And there were several times where my mom would find something missing and she'd come to me and say, hey, I really need that piece back, and I'm not going to ask any questions, but if it were to happen to appear, that would be really nice. And I, being the embarrassed person that I was at this point, would adamantly deny having done anything wrong, and the piece would magically appear in her closet a couple days later. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised at her reaction, but I really was. I thought that I'd get much more shock, and no, she wasn't surprised. But I wanted to know what your guys' coming out stories were, because it seems like they're so different. You know, some people get like a really amazing reaction where everyone's just like, that's amazing, it makes so much sense, and we fully support you. And, you know, some kids get to come out when they're little teeny tiny, and that's amazing. You know, I was 20 when I did it, and, you know, I thought that was pretty young, but kids are doing it at like 8 nowadays. So I'd love to hear your guys' stories. How did you come out to your family, your friends, your coworkers, stuff like that? I'd love to hear it. So make a video response or put it down there in the comment section. And I will see you guys later. And happy Pride Week!